Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Amy. Today for this video, we're going to talk about my personal step-by-step guideline for getting into investment banking, and I will reference my recruiting timeline for how I got my junior year internship and how eventually that led to my return offer and to where I'm working at today. So this I think will mostly apply to college students since that is where my experience is all coming from. But I think no matter what, if you're just learning about this field and the general recruiting timeline, then feel free to use this video as a reference too. So before I get into like your background and like your resume, networking, how that all works, I do want to put out the general recruiting timeline. For me, at least that year, is a year or two ago. I recruited the end of sophomore year and the beginning of my junior year. So that for me was 2019 when I was just entering my junior year. That summer after sophomore year is where you learn about all the different companies and you start networking with a lot of people. You learn about different companies' cultures and their internship programs and how those work for your junior year summer internship. So for me, I started doing all that during the summer before junior year, and then you essentially also start sending a lot of cold emails to network with a lot of people, and that's when you get, for example, your first round interviews after you apply to their internship positions. And then going into, I would say August, September would be around a lot of times where these firms finish recruiting for their junior year internship cycle. So you really just gotta be on it because recruiting starts a year before the actual internship starts. Without further ado, let's get into it. Step one is just in general looking at your background. Maybe it can even be step 0. And I know, for example, for your sophomore year internship, it's not necessarily crucial, but it's very important you get something finance related just to show your future employer, your recruiter, that you are really interested in finance or investment banking. To be honest, it's super hard to even get something like that, but it is possible. There are a lot of companies out there that have programs just for sophomores in hopes that you would recruit with them like the further year. So be sure to look at your career fairs, go to those networking sessions and learn from the recruiters. You can ask them like if they do have sophomore programs, and if they do, you can apply to them. You can ask like family, friends. Like this is when like connections really matter. Like who cares if you got in through like a family friend, as long as you actually are competent and you like do the work, then anything finance related is great on your resume. And you know, family friend, career fair, company websites, it's just like so many resources out there that you just gotta try. And even if you end up not getting anything, just definitely when you enter our step 2 in crafting your resume, you can use that experience and show how that experience maybe not finance related, but you can apply the skills you've learned from that internship into your investment banking finance internship in the future. So I would say that this is the easier part, is part 2, your resume. And it's only easy because you have full control of how you craft your own resume. You can use your peers, upperclassmen, your friends and family, your career counselor, your school's like career center counselors to all help you craft your resume. So this is when you actually need to take all that time, learn how to use your experiences from the past to show your future employers that these are traits that they would want from a candidate and you have those traits. So definitely include buzzwords, because a lot of recruiters, they definitely screen applicants, screen resumes using like investment banking, finance, capital, anything finance related. So in that sense, I think you kind of know where I'm going with it. You just have to carefully list out your bullet points, what you've learned, and show employers how, hey, I have these skills and I know you like these skills, please hire me. And even like when I was like working on my resume, I got tons of help from my upperclassmen friends and from my sister and her boyfriend. So definitely use as much help as you can. There are tons of online resources, like just Google, for example, resume template, resume adjective, active verbs. Even the small details count. And make sure to include your interests, because from my perspective, when I've recruited, I've also like interviewed our incoming class, and I really want to learn about, besides their technical experiences, I really want to learn about their interests and hobbies, because I will be working them when they come in next year, and I want to make sure that I enjoy working with them. But yeah, so definitely remember to make the ending of your resume have your interest box and write like what you're interested in, because that can be a good conversation starter too. And now we have step 3 is networking / cold emails. And by the way, I might look around this way because I have my monitor up here with all my notes, so I don't forget anything to tell you guys, or maybe I might even add more into the description, I'm not sure. For this section, networking, I never really understood how important it was until I was on the recruiting side on HR, because I also helped participate in our firm's recruiting of our next analyst internship class. So the first point is to understand like why networking is important. And I guess I can just tell you why, because from my experience also networking, you do get to learn like what investment banking even is. You get a sense of what you're supposed to do on a daily basis, why people go and do it. And you know, it also will help craft your story in your interview and show the future company that you are interested, because you've been to so many networking sessions and you actually know what investment banking is. Because surprisingly, from my experience in recruiting, a lot of people actually don't necessarily know what investment banking is. Please do your research and know what investment banking is. And I think I might do a video later on explaining what it is, but if you're interested in investment banking, definitely go online, talk to your entire network of people and try to learn what investment banking is. But yeah, so networking is important because it also helps you to learn what people do, and you get to make connections with cool people. You get to like learn what they're doing on the daily basis, which I think it's pretty great. And the most important thing I think is, if the person you're networking with really likes you, they actually can just directly forward your resume to their HR department and go like, hey, I actually really like talking to this person. If like HR can just like move along this person's process, I would be happy to see it. So, but yeah, imagine a huge company, and then HR is like, how do I interview all of these people? You first have to go through the resume screening, all of that. So if an already their existing employee goes like, hey, I talked to this person's pretty cool, can we move this person far along the process? HR actually really likes this. I think referrals go a really long way, so you never know. I think when I first networked with someone at my current firm, I think it was also that networking call that made me to the first round interview, because she also directly forwarded my resume to HR and was like, hey, had a great chat with her, can like get me started in the recruiting process for my firm. And here I am now. But yeah, networking is super important. So how do we network? So this is, I don't know how correct this is, but how I did it was I looked up a bunch of people on LinkedIn. I looked at their relevant experiences, if it's something I'm interested in. I looked at their departments, and there are actually Chrome extensions online that can help you extract emails from LinkedIn profiles. So you just send a cold email, you get whoever's email you're interested in, and you just type up cold email and start networking. Besides cold emailing, of course, there are like tons of networking sessions. If it's available in your university, those are great. You could always find friends of friends, those are great too. But when it gets to not having any network like me, I didn't have too many friends in banking, I just did the traditional route of like cold emailing a bunch of people and scheduling networking sessions. So here's the question. How do we write a cold email? Number one, Google. So there are a bunch of online resources actually on Google. If you just search up cold email template, essentially what I did was I used some of the advice I stated. For example, you're interested in their company's internship, You want to learn about their perspective, you want to learn about the company's work culture, you want to learn about that person's experience, and then obviously please attach your resume, because that gives a sense of feeling that, you know, this person is serious and he wants to learn more about my company, and he wants to, or she wants to get started in this process. So make sure, obviously, when you get to the end of the email, to end with a question like, oh, can we have like a scheduled time for like 23 minutes? And last part of step 3 is that I personally like to take notes during the call. So after you schedule your time and you call them, I like to take notes so I can reference to them in the future. It's really cool that you should make a good conversation, express your interest in the company and the person's experience. And, you know, people who take the call probably also like sharing their experience because, you know, they took the call and they want to help you. So ask interesting, curious questions about their experiences, and maybe use their LinkedIn profile later, like when you have it on another screen, like to help guide your questions. But, you know, don't tell them that I'm currently stalking your LinkedIn right now. But yeah, and then at the end of the call, you can also ask for their recruiting timeline if they know, or even if you think that it's a really good conversation and you believe truly that they like you, then ask if they can pass your resume along to HR, or if they can refer you to anyone else for you to talk to. But yeah, and at the end of that, you know, last part, always send a thank you email just to show that you really appreciate the call. And in case that they're referring you, just, you know, attach your resume again maybe and go like, hey, here's my resume again. Thank you for the call. And like, you know, kindly remind them to pass your resume along if they are willing to. And now we are part 4, which is interview prep / interviewing. And I am just scrolling down on my monitor. Okay, number 1, the most basic part of the interview, I would say the technicals. The technicals are a prerequisite to show that you've done your homework and you're interested in investment banking. So this is speaking all from my experience and what I care about in an interview. So besides technicals, there is like a big test bank online. I think it's called 400 questions that every investment banking analyst asks. I can link it down below, or I will be linking it down below in the description. But yes, study that religiously. And number 2, part 2 of step 4 is those behavioral questions. So from my perspective, I think what is important for those who are recruiting to come across is that first, you know, basic, you need to know what investment banking is. I've asked several recruiting students if they can explain what investment banking is to those who are not familiar in finance at all. And I think a lot of people think that investment banking is either, you know, internal finance in like the finance department in the company and looking at the company's own balance sheets, etc. That's not investment banking, and I was just sad when I heard that. If you're interested in it, definitely use, for example, Google. Use all those online resources. Use your friends and family. Use anyone in your network. Use your networking calls to learn what it is before you officially start recruiting. And number 2, what I think is important that comes across from the recruiting student is that you need to know why you want to be in investment banking. A lot of people, for example, use it as a platform, which I think it's fine, but obviously you need to make the point that for now you're really interested in investment banking and gaining all the skills that come along with being an investment banker. And the other point that is important, I think, is you need to know why you want to recruit with this company. Because if you think about it, if you get your junior year internship with this company and they do give you an offer and you accept it, well, that means that you will be recruiting technically for a full-time job, kind of, when you're actually recruiting for your junior internship. So you definitely need to know why you want this company. And the last point you want to get across is that you are a fun and interesting person. Because when I was interviewing, I also definitely looked at the interest box, on the person's resume and tried to start up a conversation with that, because I want to know if the person's, has a life outside of studying and outside of, recruiting. Because when we're, working together, I don't want to just talk to, a robot maybe, but just make sure you have things that you care about and things that you like doing besides, studying and working, because, it'll just be a fun conversation. And you also want to like your recruiter too, right? So from both sides, we want to both like each other. And to definitely do try to make it like a conversation. At least this is for me. I would personally like my interviewees to make it a conversation, not necessarily like a full-on conversation where I'm not allowed to ask like, interview questions, but definitely make it interesting. Like try to be a tiny bit funny, try to make yourself interesting, but still answering each question. And, like, you should also like your interviewer too. And if you're not vibing with the interviewer on like multiple occasions with like multiple interviewers from the same company, maybe you won't really necessarily like the company and like who you work with. And that might be a difficult time after you graduate. And finally, we're at step 5. Step 5 is just sending, thank you notes and just expressing what you like. I personally really appreciate thank you notes because I really want to help like the other person move further along into the process. And I like, everyone likes to be appreciated. It just goes to show that you really care about the company and the company's culture. Thank you for watching. I hope I didn't talk too fast. And if you have more questions, maybe I'll film like a Q&A segment in the future. Leave comments, I'll respond to them. Follow my Instagram. I like to post like new episode updates on Instagram too, or I'm trying to learn how to use Instagram and all its features slowly but surely. And good luck recruiting, and I hope you found this video helpful. Bye.